6 days ago, NASA quietly did something they have never done before in the entire history of lunar observation. They turned off every single publicly accessible live feed pointed at the moon. Not one feed, not two, every single one. And when astronomers, researchers, and independent space enthusiasts around the world started asking why, NASA's official response was 3 words. Scheduled maintenance window. That was it, no timeline for when the feeds would come back. No explanation of what maintenance was being performed. No alternative feed offered, just 3 words and silence. But here is what makes those 3 words impossible to believe. The last time NASA performed a maintenance window on their lunar observation network, they announced it 30 days in advance, kept 2 backup feeds running throughout the entire process, and the whole thing lasted exactly 11 hours. This shutdown happened with 0 advance notice, 0 backup feeds, and as of the recording of this video, it has now been 6 days with no explanation and no return of the feeds. 6 days. And the amateur astronomy community, which has been watching the moon independently for decades with their own equipment, started noticing something in the 48 hours before NASA pulled the plug on their feeds. Something that has never been recorded before in the history of lunar observation. There is a region on the moon called, which in Latin means Lake of Death. It sits in the northeastern section of the near side of the moon, the side that always faces Earth. It is a relatively flat ancient lava plain approximately 151 kilometers across, surrounded by mountains and crossed by a series of deep fractures in the lunar surface called rills. Has been photographed thousands of times. It has been studied extensively. Scientists know it well. It is considered one of the most geologically stable and well understood regions of the entire lunar surface. 48 hours before NASA shut down their feeds, 3 separate amateur astronomers on 3 different continents, using 3 completely different telescope setups, all recorded the same thing coming from a repeating thermal signature. Now let me explain exactly what that means and why it matters. The moon has no atmosphere, no weather, no wind, no clouds. Because of this, the moon's surface temperature is entirely controlled by one thing: sunlight. When the sun hits the lunar surface, it heats up. When it is in shadow, it cools down. This is completely predictable. Scientists can calculate the exact temperature of any point on the lunar surface at any given time with extremely high accuracy based purely on its exposure to sunlight. A thermal signature that does not match the predicted temperature model means something is generating heat on or below the lunar surface that the model does not account for. And a repeating thermal signature means that heat source is cycling, turning on and off, in a pattern. Natural geological processes on the moon do not cycle in patterns. The moon is geologically dead. It has been for billions of years. There are no active volcanoes, no tectonic movement, no geothermal activity that could produce a cycling heat source. The 3 amateur astronomers who recorded this signature independently contacted each other after posting their findings online. They compared their data. The thermal cycling they each recorded was happening on a 73-minute repeating cycle, precise to within seconds across all 3 independent recordings. 73 minutes, like clockwork, from a geologically dead world. When their findings started spreading through the amateur astronomy community and gaining attention online, 2 things happened very quickly. First, their posts and data were removed from multiple platforms citing, and this is the exact language used, unverified scientific claims. Second, within 18 hours of their data going viral in astronomy circles, NASA announced the maintenance shutdown of all public lunar feeds. Coincidence is a word that gets used a lot when people do not want to say what they are actually thinking. Now here is where this story goes from strange to something that demands serious attention. The region is not randomly chosen territory on the moon. It is one of 4 locations on the lunar surface that was specifically flagged in a classified annex to the Artemis program planning documents, a version of which was partially leaked by a congressional staffer in 2023. The Artemis program is NASA's current initiative to return humans to the moon. The public version of the program focuses on the lunar South Pole, where water ice has been confirmed in permanently shadowed craters, and which represents a logical base camp for future lunar operations. but the classified annex described 4 additional sites of what the document called. And again, this is direct language from the leaked document as reported by researchers who analyzed it. Anomalous subsurface interest. Anomalous subsurface interest was one of those 4 sites. The document described it as exhibiting subsurface thermal variation, inconsistent with geological models, and recommended priority investigation before any crewed missions to the region. Subsurface thermal variation, inconsistent with geological models. That is the exact scientific language for what the 3 amateur astronomers independently recorded 6 days ago from their backyard telescopes. The classified annex was written in 2021, which means NASA has known about anomalous thermal activity beneath the surface for at least 4 years. They flagged it as a priority investigation site. They built it into their classified mission planning. And they told the public absolutely nothing. Now let us talk about what could actually be causing a precise 73-minute thermal cycling pattern beneath the surface of the moon. The scientific community, when forced to address this publicly, offers 2 explanations. The first is instrument error. The 3 astronomers recorded faulty data due to equipment malfunction or atmospheric interference from Earth. This explanation has a significant problem. Atmospheric interference from Earth affects optical observation, but has minimal impact on thermal imaging at lunar distances when using properly calibrated equipment. And the probability of 3 independent instruments on 3 different continents, all producing identical faulty readings, cycling on the same precise 73-minute schedule, is, according to statistical analysis, done by a physics professor at the University of Edinburgh who reviewed the data before it was removed, effectively 0. The second official explanation is a previously unknown natural phenomenon. Some undiscovered geological process that somehow creates regular cycling thermal output from a world that has been geologically dead for billions of years. Scientists who specialize in lunar geology have been notably quiet about this explanation, which itself is telling, because when genuine scientists encounter a genuinely interesting natural phenomenon, they do not go quiet. They get excited, they publish, they talk. The quiet from the lunar geology community in the past 6 days has been deafening. So what is the third explanation? The one that nobody in an official position will say out loud. Something beneath the surface is operating on a cycle. Something that generates heat. Something that turns on and off every 73 minutes with mechanical precision. Something that NASA knew about 4 years ago and classified. Something that became visible enough to amateur observers that NASA felt it necessary to shut down every public feed pointed at the moon within 18 hours of the data going viral. The history of space exploration has a long record of information being classified, delayed, sanitized, and in some cases completely suppressed when what was found did not fit the approved narrative of what humanity was supposed to discover. In 1979, a NASA scientist named Farouk El, who served as science coordinator for the Apollo program, said in a recorded interview that there were aspects of what the Apollo astronauts encountered on the lunar surface that were not fully disclosed in the public mission reports. He did not specify what those aspects were. The interview was not widely covered. El continued to work as a respected scientist and never elaborated publicly on that statement. In 2006, a Freedom of Information request filed by a journalist revealed that NASA had received and classified a series of images from the Clementine Lunar Orbiter mission in 1994 that showed what the classification documents described as surface features of uncertain origin in the region. Surface features of uncertain origin, in the exact same region now showing a 73-minute thermal cycling signature. That classification has never been lifted. Those images have never been released. And now, in 2025, with the Artemis program actively planning crewed lunar missions and a privately funded race to the moon involving SpaceX, Blue Origin, and multiple international competitors, including China's rapidly advancing lunar program, something beneath the surface is cycling every 73 minutes, and NASA has gone dark on every camera pointed at the moon. China's lunar program is worth mentioning specifically here, because China has their own lunar orbiters, their own observation infrastructure, and unlike NASA, they have not shut anything down. Chinese amateur astronomers and researchers have been notably active in the past 72 hours discussing the thermal readings. The Chinese National Space Agency has not commented publicly, but sources within the international astronomy community report that China's lunar observation teams have been working around the clock since the thermal signature data went viral. Whatever is happening on the moon, multiple space powers are now aware of it. Multiple governments are watching, and the race to understand it or to control the information about it is happening right now in real time. The moon is 238,855 miles away from Earth on average. It has been orbiting our planet for approximately 4.5 billion years. Humans walked on its surface between 1969 and 1972, and then we stopped going. For over 50 years, we have been content to observe it from a distance, send robotic probes, and plan future missions that keep getting delayed and defunded and reorganized. Now we are going back. Multiple nations are going back. And in the region flagged 4 years ago in a classified document as anomalous subsurface interest, something is turning on and off every 73 minutes like a heartbeat. The moon is not supposed to have a heartbeat. And NASA does not want you watching while they figure out what does. Sky Pulse is going to keep watching. Independent astronomers around the world are going to keep watching. And every time a camera gets shut off, every time data gets removed, every time 3 words of official explanation are offered for something that demands 100, we are going to be here asking the question that nobody in an official position wants to answer. What is beneath the surface of? And why does NASA already know the answer? Subscribe to Sky Pulse. Turn on every notification, because this story is moving fast and the next update could come at any moment. This is Sky Pulse. Stay alert. We will see you in the next one.